Anyways, all right. Are we ready to get started or what?
Let's do it.
How do you feel, Georgie?
I feel great.
Listen, this is what's gonna happen, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new podcast co-host. He's a guest right now. He's trying out. His name's Pedro. Pedro, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Pedro Hernandez. I am part of the Liquid Football staff with Javi and Georgie, and it's really an honor to be here.
Is it? Is it Pedro?
It really is.
Pedro's gonna leave after one episode.
Pedro's like,
Just because of Georgie, though.
No, you're gonna leave because of me.
So this is the try. This is Pedro's tryout, but this is also Georgie because of the amount of unbelievable takes that Georgie has had on this podcast. His position is threatened. So best case scenario, Georgie no longer comes back to the podcast, and now Pedro becomes my co-host.
First of all, my take for Darwin Nuñez. Okay, there's two things. Because you always talk about it, you always bring it up. I said Darwin Nuñez in 2-3 years is going to have a bigger impact at Liverpool than Haaland at City. That was number one. Two, you said you made the best prediction of all time. Haaland scoring 30 goals, it was obviously.
You didn't make that prediction?
I didn't, but literally I didn't want to make that prediction.
So,
however, most of the world would agree with you that Haaland coming to the Premier League was an amazing move and Haaland would score and all that.
yeah, but I was very specific. I said it wouldn't even be close in terms of who would be the second person in the race for the Golden Boot, and that he would get over 30
Yeah,
goals. And was I wrong?
you weren't wrong.
Exactly.
You were right. However, I'm just saying it wasn't like a crazy out of this world prediction. It was like
Could it be that Darwin's impact keeps getting bigger and bigger at Liverpool, while Liverpool keeps getting worse and worse, though?
Liverpool had a terrible year last year, and I felt bad for Darwin to be part of that. Because to come in, big signing, and to be part of a Liverpool team that's pretty much had no legs throughout the whole entire year, and he still did what he did in the limited amount of time, I was still pretty impressed.
So do you believe after year one? So I know you said 2 to 3 years, but do you really believe after year one that he's had a bigger impact at Liverpool than Haaland has at Manchester City?
Not in year one, no.
So you think Haaland has so far had a bigger impact?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he scored 30 goals compared to, and you win everything. Yeah. However, speaking on Liverpool fans, I still like Darwin a lot. Like, I think he's the present and the future. The guy's going to score goals. Like, what he did at Newcastle, I mean, come on. Those two finishes, that's world-class finishes. And the amount of work that has been talked about he's put in the summer and coming into the season and in preseason, all the games I've watched, all those chances he had last year in preseason, he never scored. And now he's scoring those chances like a typical goal scorer should. So now it's just a matter of, one, staying fit and not getting injured. And two, Liverpool, obviously the whole rebuild and everything is having a big impact on the amount of chances he's getting, how Liverpool's playing overall. Because the confidence is there. Imagine you go into a team and the confidence isn't there. I don't care who you are. You're not going to be like scoring goals or getting the chances. So
Maybe you would if he was Haaland.
But even you want to talk about Haaland? Haaland at Burnley. He did score.
Well, you can't. One performance, I can give you 10 of Darwin Nuñez's worst performances where he missed a bunch of sitters.
But that's what I'm saying. It's all about confidence. Like, as a goal scorer, you got to be like, all right, you score one, you got to go on to the next one.
Pedro, how good do you think Nuñez is in comparison to Haaland?
I don't think he sits on the same table, but I think he's still young and he can definitely get better. I definitely have a spot on my heart for him. He came to Europe via Almeria, which is my team in Spain. So I think he will get better. I don't think he's at that elite level yet.
Didn't his first year at Almeria, he didn't do that well, right? And
Correct.
Then the second year, he scored like 20 plus goals.
Yep.
At Benfica, first year, he was okay. He scored like 10 goals. The following year, he was a Ballon d'Or. He was on the Ballon d'Or list. He was top 10 Ballon d'Or. First year Liverpool, he was. This is the thing. We're talking about as if he was really bad last year. He really wasn't bad. If you look at the stats are going to say he played this amount of games. What the stats don't say is half those games he didn't play, like, one, full 90, or two, that he subbed down the last 10 minutes. But obviously when you look at games played, that's going to be included.
Yeah, but why wasn't he playing all those games?
Because Liverpool were just terrible. From
Exactly. So if he's as good of a player as you say he is,
Yeah.
if he's not injured, he should be on the field.
he should be on the field if Liverpool were performing well and doing everything right. Like anybody, like one, he got a red card the first few games. Then he got an injury. Then he was out for a bit, and then he came back. He tried to play whatever. He scored goals, and he was involved. He was chaos to other teams. It's just if you're not getting the chances, you can't tell me Liverpool of last year was like Liverpool of the previous
No.
4 or 5
Liverpool had a
years.
bad year. Of course, Liverpool had a bad year, so it affects everyone because obviously
Yeah.
he can't do it by himself. Whereas Manchester City having a good year, Haaland is going to
Yeah.
score a bunch of goals. I want to go back to this conversation because you made fun of me. You made fun of me.
Mm-hmm.
Mitrovic actually had better stats than Nuñez did. I don't even know if that's true, but I'm telling you, I believe it is. I guarantee if I look it up right now, I'm going to look it up right now I should have looked this up before. But at the beginning of the season,
Mm-hmm.
when I said Mitrovic was better than Nuñez, you laughed. And people laughed.
because it's
People
not
laughed.
true.
I think even your boy Jaimito laughed at me.
Listen, you cannot tell me.
I'm about to look
Pedro
at this.
just said sitting on the same table.
He's not yet.
No, I agree. Like that's fine. What I'm saying is you can't compare Mitrovic to Darwin Nuñez.
Why not? Why can't you?
actually
They're both
can.
strikers.
That's
They're both
cannot.
strikers.
Pretty fair comparison. I
You
would say.
can, oh my god!
Watch. I'm
You
going to tell you. I'm
cannot
going to tell you.
compare.
I think
Where's Mitrovic in Saudi Arabia now?
Mitrovic was in 11th place in goals scored, whereas your boy, I'm scrolling down because I can't find him.
Okay, now you're looking just the Premier League or overall?
Just the Premier League. That's what we were talking about. I can't find him. Darwin. Maybe I skipped him. Oh yeah, 24.
Mhm.
So he had 9 goals, and Mitrovic had 14 goals.
Who's the
And which team is better? That's exactly what we were just talking
That's-
about. You just said
no,
if your team
no,
is
no,
not
no.
playing well, if your team is not
you
playing
can
well,
be in the bottom of the table, right? And if you've been obviously in the system, or if you've played there, like Mitrovic has been up and down in Fulham for the past 5 years because they keep getting relegated and keep coming back up. He scores goals in the Championship, then he comes in the Premier League and he has been terrible. And then 1 year he has 14 goals.
yeah. And I told you he was going to be better that year, and he
No,
was.
you told me overall he's a better player than Darwin Nuñez. That is nowhere near the case.
How else do you judge a striker?
There's a lot you can judge a striker off, not just goals.
Pedro.
You
Tell
can
me I'm not crazy because Mitrovic scored 14 goals and Darwin Nuñez had 9.
as a main player on the team.
Well, what does that have to do with anything, though?
Because he's going to play every single second. He's going to be like that's how did Fulham? What was the game plan for Fulham? Cross the ball. So Mitrovic scores, takes PKs as well, and then on top of that, the whole game plan for Fulham is cross the ball in. So Mitrovic has
All
it in.
I'm saying is that
That's
you
like
can't
me
say I'm
saying
crazy. You can't say I'm crazy.
no. I'm not. Well, that is crazy to say Mitrovic is better than Darwin Nuñez. But what I'm going to say is that's like saying Peter Crouch is better than half the strikers because when he played for Stoke City, he was scoring goals.
Yeah, and then he went to the English national team, so he was better than most
He
of
was
the
in the
strikers.
English national team with Liverpool. And then went into Stoke City is different. Like you can't like just because a striker score like I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody right now that's scoring goals in the Premier League.
But that's how you. That's mostly how you judge. If a striker is not scoring any goals, no matter what else he's doing for the team, he's not going to be rated as high as some of the other people.
And if you rate your striker as a coach, you're gonna play him all the time, right? You cannot say that Mitrovic is just, has a higher goal count just because he played more when Darwin had the same chance to earn minutes.
So we're saying Bobby Firmino is not one of the best as a striker. According to your guys' theory, not scoring goals, Bobby Firmino is not a good player.
No. Now you're exaggerating, saying he's not a good player.
Okay, not a good. Not okay. So what do you want to? How do you want to?
I think Bobby Firmino is a good player, but even at Liverpool, he was in and out because he didn't score enough goals. If he would have scored, tell me this: if he would have scored more goals, if Bobby Firmino would have scored more goals, he would have been playing every minute for Liverpool. He did a different job, and he was the setup, right? So he was like the hold up player. He
Bobby
would
Firmino
get
is
the
the
ball
system.
up a little bit, huh?
He's the whole system under Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. The guy literally was the reason why Liverpool were who they were.
And still, he didn't play as many minutes as he should.
He did play a lot. He was most of the games he started until
Most
last
of the
year.
games that I remember, he subbed in and had some sort of an impact off the bench.
You're talking about last year.
I think Bobby's a different profile, though. I think
He is.
Bobby's more like a setup guy, a center forward.
False
type
nine.
Yeah, false nine.
He's a false nine.
I'm gonna get a Mitrovic jersey.
will get it from Saudi Arabia because he ain't in the Premier League no more, boy.
Whatever. Listen, let's move on because we had this conversation at least 100 times last year.
Listen,
I'm just saying.
now,
people
no.
laughed at me.
I feel disrespected. Now you guys are saying
should
Bobby
feel
Firmino is not a good player.
We never said that.
You got 2 years left. See, you're saying that. Yeah, nobody ever said Bobby Firmino was a good.
According to your guys' striker profile,
Yes, you wouldn't pay a crap ton of money for Bobby Firmino because he doesn't get you enough goals. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Where'd he go? He went on a free transfer, didn't he? Did they sell him?
no, he went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, free transfer.
After
You're
5
telling me
years,
you're going to tell me they're going to let Harry Kane go on a free transfer?
what?
Erling Haaland, they're going to let go on a free transfer? I'm just saying, if your striker is that valuable, you don't let him go on a free transfer.
It's time for a rebuild.
Mitrovic didn't go on a free transfer.
Oh my God! Not.
Let's go.
Tell me,
You're off the podcast.
Tell me,
next time.
Mitrovic better than Firmino right now.
Pedro just won his spot on
Wait. Okay, Mitrovic had 14 goals. Bobby Firmino had 10. Who's better?
I don't think. Well, first of all, they're different because Mitrovic is not a setup player like Bobby Firmino, so it's very hard to compare in that sense.
Okay.
You could put them together on the field at the same time.
So
Where I don't think you could put Nuñez and Mitrovic on the field at the same time.
Darwin plays a left wing last year. He didn't play as a striker.
But he's more of a striker.
He didn't play as
In
a
his
striker.
best position, he's a striker.
Best position.
And you even said that because you wanted Firmino as the 10 and you wanted Darwin Nuñez
when they
up.
played the 3 games they played, it was perfect. And then Bobby got hurt for a long time. Listen, of this is you just told me you're basing a striker off goals.
Yes. Mostly. Not completely, but
So-
yes, that's a very important factor.
So Mitrovic played. He can only play striker as a 9. Like he's your typical 9.
He's your typical 9.
He's a typical 9. Bobby and Darwin aren't. Or Darwin didn't play that last year. Liverpool.
Bobby more so than Darwin. Bobby's more of a Bobby's less of a 9 than Bobby's less of a traditional 9 than Darwin is. Darwin is slightly a little bit more of a 9.
So, but Darwin played left wing most of the time last year for Liverpool. He didn't play as a striker.
Yeah, but
So we're basing Darwin what we know at Benfica, who he actually played as a winger at Benfica as well. But last year for Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp played Jota in the middle for most games, or Firmino in the middle, and then Darwin on the left wing. After like Mane was gone and Diaz out with the knee injury.
listen,
So now we're
I'm saying, George, all I'm saying is that I'm not crazy for having a conversation to compare those two because they're closer together than Nuñez is with Haaland.
I would
gotta
agree
admit
with
that. You
that.
gotta admit
So
that.
you tell me this right now: you're buying a striker or whatever, an attacking player. You're willing to buy Mitrovic over Firmino and over Darwin. That's what you tell me.
No. What I'm telling you is that if I was sitting in a board meeting with my club
Okay.
and we were talking about potential strikers, we would look at our budget.
Okay, so you're sitting in liquid football and you have
Yes.
all those 3 players are the same amount of money. Which one are you picking?
Well, that's the thing. That's all I'm saying is that's the conversation. I'm not putting Haaland in that conversation because we can't afford him. If they said you have $200 million, if you have $200 million or whatever, right? And we could only, or maybe not $200 million because you could probably buy anybody for 200 mil. But if there's a certain amount of money, they fall into a category where if you categorize them by how expensive they are, and they said you can get one striker and this is your budget, Nuñez, Mitrovic, and Firmino would be in the same category, whereas Haaland would be in a completely different category.
No, first of all,
Different tier. That's all I'm saying.
you just put Firmino and
That's all
Mitrovic
I'm
in the
saying.
same bracket. Oh my God, I can't.
Right now, that's
Well, right now the guys in like.
but that's what we were talking about
Firmino's
the last year when Nuñez first came over, Bobby Firmino was there and Mitrovic. I'm not judging Mitrovic by 3 years ago when he was in the championship or whatever. We're judging him by last year.
Okay, Firmino scored 12 goals in the first half of the season, and then he got injured the rest of the season. 12, and that's 12 to the 14 over the whole season.
I'm saying now, right now. Not all time, not when they were in their prime. I'm saying right now you have the conversation. Those 3 strikers are in a much more similar conversation rather than Haaland. Haaland is on a conversation with Mbappe and players at different position, but like Jude. Like that category of people that you could afford if you had the money.
Well, right now, yeah.
Yeah. That's all I'm
But-
saying. That's all I'm saying.
But you're talking about money. We're talking about like
Right, we're in a hypothetical situation.
okay, so Mitrovic goes to Saudi Arabia for 50 mil. Firmino goes for free. So you're basically saying Mitrovic is better than Firmino.
I don't know if I would say that he's better. I'm just saying he's in a. That's the comparison. Is all I'm saying.
He's also much younger than Bobby, though.
He is, but
But just ability wise, like level where they're at right now, I would I'll be honest. I would probably take Firmino
Damn right you would.
right now, but I would have a conversation about it. Whereas if you told me Haaland or Firmino, that's not a conversation. Don't, George. I know you're a Liverpool fan, but don't say that's a conversation because you know it's not.
It depends on your system.
Yeah.
Oh,
Still, you would take Haaland.
Okay.
You find somebody else to play as a 10, and you take Haaland.
Firmino's not a 10.
But that's the position, the false 9. That's the position that you
Well,
prefer to play.
If you're gonna play,
if that's the system.
If, for example, if you're telling Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool the past 5 years, he never had a traditional striker besides Jota, who's more like a winger, comes into the middle. It just depends on your system. If a player doesn't fit the profile, like Thiago, for example, right? And nobody in the world thought Thiago would fit into Liverpool, just because Thiago's a guy who wants to get on the ball. Liverpool are up and down, just physical, just hardworking guys. And Thiago's playing, and he has the most tackles in the Premier League when he plays. Obviously, he gets hurt, but
Yeah, because he balances them out.
yeah. So
He does a job that none of the other Liverpool players can do.
yeah.
Which is why it helps their system. They don't all have to be the same. All right, listen. I'm just saying. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't crazy for comparing Mitrovic to Nuñez because I thought that was closer.
I think that's crazy.
Anyway, leave it in the comment section down below.
Yeah.
Who's your team, Pedro, in the Prem? Do you have a team in the Prem?
Not really, no. I used to like Swansea City back in the day, like 10 years ago with Michu and all these guys.
So with Joe Allen,
Yeah.
he's still playing, by the way.
Where?
I don't know where. I saw his name somewhere.
Championship or League One, something like that?
I think it might be the championship. I think he's back at Swansea.
Wow.
I think that's what it is. I think he's back at Swansea. Because I think didn't he go to Scotland and then I don't know. But
Well, there's not much Premier League going on since the last time we spoke because they're on an international break, which leads me to the next topic. Your boy Messi, they won without him. They Inter Miami.
Yeah, 3-1, right?
I think it was 3-1. Yeah, I don't know.
Who they play?
I can't remember.
I don't even know.
I saw the score and I saw he wasn't there because I knew he was on international duty, and I'm keeping track of the points because they have to make a deficit of like 12 points just to get into the last spot.
Damn. So are you raising the question? Is it Messi or is it Tata Martino? Is that the question you're gonna ask?
Well, listen, I kind of feel bad for Tata Martino as a coach because the guy's actually a coach who wants to build his resume and actually continue coaching. But he's no matter what happens, he's never going to get credit for anything that he does in Inter Miami successfully. But of course, he'll still take the blame if Inter Miami does not qualify, and they'll sack him, and nobody will place any blame on Messi, which they shouldn't because the way he's been playing.
Jordi Alba and Busquets play?
Yeah.
Both of them
They
played.
both played. Did you watch it?
No, I did see a goal that happened when Sergio Busquets took a free kick very quickly. The guy from the other team was like protesting, and he grabbed the ball from his hands and placed it and played it very quick. It was a quick assist. Very smart.
3-2.
3-2.
But that
Against who?
Campana guy scored 2 goals, which I like.
He's been on fire, man.
He's coming off as he's coming on as a sub recently because he's subbing in for the young kid.
So
Kramasi.
what happened to Martinez? Is he hurt?
He's like third in line now.
Wow. That's
Well, I don't know if third in line, but every time I've noticed, they've put Campana on for Kramasi,
yeah, I like Kramasi.
the young kid. I don't like him too much.
You don't
I
like
think
him?
he's overhyped. I like Campana better. I think every time Campana's come on, he's helped them win the game. And Kramasi is just. I mean, he's good because he's a young player, but I don't think he's.
Wait,
I'll take Campana over him anytime.
isn't Campana a striker?
Yeah.
Kramasi's not a
I
striker.
know he plays as a wing, and sometimes they put Josef Martinez.
I thought
But they always
Kramasi's
sub him in.
Center mid.
No,
That's why he played the first 3 games with Messi, and then I don't know.
they had him in the attack.
Yeah, center mid wing kind of changes.
But every single time they've put Campana on for him, and then Campana goes in, and
he's a big
balls up.
target too.
he's good. He's smart.
He's number 9, right? He's actually the number 9 guy.
I don't know if he's number 9.
I
but-
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's.
What's
he's legit.
Martinez?
Martinez is like, I have no idea what Martinez. I don't think he's 9.
Anyway, they win without Messi. How big is Messi's impact?
Oh.
Or is it?
here
Or
we
is
go.
it? Or is it? So Pedro brought this up to me the other day. He's like, "How good is MLS defending?" That's one. All right, but also I think how big has it been to have Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets?
Huge, especially Busquets. especially Busquets.
Very underrated player, in my opinion.
I mean, that's the thing though. You're like, not to say anything about MLS and like the supporters, but a lot of them just watch now because obviously Messi. Well, I'm one of those people, but obviously, like we love the game, we watch as much soccer as we can. Where some of these people are just now tuning in for the first time, never watched the game. They're not gonna know who Busquets is, and even when they watch the game, it's very tough for people to realize what a player like Busquets does if you don't like watch and understand the game. So like half of these people are like just a normal player, makes like passes here and there, and that's it. But the guy controls the whole entire game.
Yeah.
Even when Messi plays, you can see like Busquets getting on the ball, controlling the tempo of the game. Where they want to speed it up, go like control the game, or they want to go more fast paced. He's always the one like controlling it. Where if you don't have that in the middle, it's gonna be very, very tough. Not to say that Messi won't do what Messi does, but it's very underlooked and underrated, and to what he brings to Inter Miami. Because now he brings that balance where I don't think they have like without him on the field. And obviously Jordi Alba's.
What do you think, Pedro? How big has Messi's impact been, or how big is it in comparison to all the other factors that are also helping them win?
I mean, I think he's still elite, right? World-class talent. I think having Sergio and Jordi really helps him too, especially Jordi too. Having that match to Yetlin on the other wing, and having that connection that Jordi and Messi have from many years playing together is great. As far as defending on the MLS, I mean, I think it's still pretty poor if you compare it to some top leagues in Europe. I don't think it's as bad as people think. From what I have seen from the Saudi League, I think it's much better than the Saudi League defending level. I'm just excited to see if they make it to the playoffs, because I think if they do make it to the playoffs, they have a huge chance to win it all.
It's crazy, isn't it? 3 players, really 3 players. I mean,
And a coach.
But it also improves everyone. Like Joseph Martinez is now gonna play better because he's got Messi and he feels more comfortable. And everybody else, when everybody else buys into the fact that they have to give the ball to Messi, and that's the game plan, is let Messi create, and hopefully you get a tap in or you pass it back to him for a tap in or whatever. But it helps them become a much better team. What's his name? The Chiellini. He said that was the best MLS team he's faced since he's been here. Yeah. He said by far that was the best MLS team he's faced.
Is that who they just beat?
No, they beat Sporting, but they beat LAFC 3-0, the last game before Messi left. And that was... at
LAFC where everybody came.
And Carlos Vela did not do a single thing that whole game.
Yeah.
And LAFC was the current champions. So to do that, and then, it was pretty... There was chances for LAFC, but to be fair, it was a pretty one-sided when the Messi show came on.
Yeah. I mean, what can you really say? My question is, like... Also, did you watch do you watch MLS prior to Messi coming?
Yeah, a little bit.
Now you're like all in, like you watch.
I would say it's the same. It's the same. You know, I mean, I grew up watching Messi play, so it's not really.
Well, like I don't watch MLS, so that's what we talked about last time. I as soon as Messi was announced, I got Apple subscription, and now I'm like, and I don't even like. I have now watched. If Messi doesn't play, I don't watch. Like I just don't do it.
Just not interested.
But if Messi plays, now it's like, okay, I'm gonna watch, because obviously.
For me, it was. I mean, I guess it's the same thing, really. But for me, it was. I was always curious to see what the difference was between Messi and the rest of the world, or our parts of the world, because obviously we're a little closer to the MLS and understanding what the MLS level looks like, because we're in the United States. So when we see Messi playing in Europe, obviously we know that's the hardest. Those are the hardest leagues to play in, and he's the best player in the world. But one of the reasons why I wanted to watch was just to see how big the difference was. Because like I said in the last episode, I honestly thought he was not going to try. Thought he was going to do well and score a couple goals here and there, but
he's about in. You can see he's happy.
Yeah.
Like you can see, like there's a smile on his face, and he wants to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are many factors there. Obviously, the French league's defending level is much higher than the MLS. They have plenty of young talent there that gets exported to England, Spain, and other leagues. I also think that it was very unbalanced there for him. There are a lot of, issues there. I don't think the team, let's put it this way, I don't think the center back at PSG was trying as hard as the center back is at MLS, at Inter Miami. to work hard for Messi, right? There is a lot of issues with PSG, and they've spent so much money throughout the years, yet they can put a team that really is cohesive and doesn't depend on all those like little sparks from Mbappe or Neymar or Messi. And I also think he really hated it there. And I think, in fact, he said it recently in an interview that he was not enjoying it there and he was not having fun playing for PSG. Probably a little bit of a shock after all those years in Barcelona to move to Paris. But yeah, I think there are a lot of factors. But what's best now is to see him smile and to see him, like Javi said, try hard for Inter. It's very wholesome and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, when you're not happy, you're not going to perform at your best. That's bottom line, and you could tell he was not happy with all the drama that was going on. And also, the biggest part about it was the way that he left Barcelona. They kind of like they told him. It seemed like from one day to the next, he thought he was staying at Barca, and then the next day he was already flying out to France to go play for PSG, and he had no choice.
And that was his whole life.
Yeah.
In Barcelona. So like to make the big move to feel unwanted in a way and go to play PSG and try to like fit all those pieces together where it's not. I mean, I don't know who thought it would be a good idea to put 3-4 attacking players that don't defend for the most part, and think. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you have the money, you got to try it out. But it's like Mbappe doesn't defend, Neymar doesn't, Messi doesn't. You need to literally have 3 or 4 midfield players who are just gonna defend, and there's just no balance at all.
And then that's the benefit of playing at Inter Miami, where everyone else on the team knows that they have to do the stuff that maybe he doesn't want to do. He's still doing it though. He's doing a good job. Like he's not just standing up front. I mean, he's working pretty hard. But yes, it's nice to know that if you're Messi, you have 10 other guys or 9 other guys on the field who are going to defend the ball for you if you lose it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you see Sergio Busquets tackles, I'm impressed because that's something that I was like, oh, maybe Busquets would be one of those players like who just come in, wants to be on the ball, but won't really want to defend. The guy gets like 3-4 tackles a game. It's like he didn't do that. I mean, he did that at Barca, but not like consistently.
He always did. He was nicknamed El Pulpo, which is the octopus, because he was always tackling people.
Did you expect him to be? I don't want to say defending, but like to be doing as much work as he is, because like that part to me is impressive for Busquets.
Yeah, I think it's a Messi factor, right? You don't want to be the guy that causes Messi to lose a game, right? Yeah. So everybody's trying hard, and I think they owe that to him, and they work hard for him, and like I said, that really makes it work at the end of the day.
So, Tata Martino, how much credit does he get for all this? He has to get a lot of it.
I think he's a good coach. I mean, he coached the Mexican national team. He got sacked eventually. I liked him. He's really just there because of Messi.
But do you think Messi's there because he knew Tata's going to be there?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Messi did not go to Inter Miami without having a conversation about who the head coach is.
To be coached by Phil Neville.
Yeah, exactly. It lined up perfectly because they had to sack him, right? Because they were bottom of the league or whatever. So it lined up perfectly for it to happen. But as a coach, that is one of the biggest struggles is how in almost 100% of any situation, typically the coach is going to be the one that has more power over the players. Yeah. Unless you're coaching Messi or you're coaching Ronaldo or Mbappe, right? Even Pep still has more power over Haaland at Manchester City, right? But how do you go in there knowing what is the initial conversation that you have with the player as a coach? What is the initial conversation that you have with them when you know that basically they can do whatever they want and no matter what they do, you will still get fired before they get fired? So how do you...
It's a tough balance.
So, like, I wonder what that conversation was like. And I'm sure they probably didn't even need to have that conversation. I'm sure Tata Martino's like, look, this team is all about you. We're here for you. Whatever you need, just let us know.
And it helps to have history together. So
yeah, right. Of course. And Messi respects him. That's the biggest thing. Because there has to be some level of respect.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you can do as a coach in that situation. He's a good coach, but...
Like, I mean... It's not the same, kind of is, but the Saudi Arabia situation with Benzema, I forgot his name, the ex
Nuno.
Yeah, he doesn't want. I didn't want Benzema there, and Benzema just won one of the supposedly best players in the world.
Yeah,
like how do you deal with that? Like it's you, like the owners went over you as a head coach and said we're going to bring this guy in, so you got to deal with it. And now,
and I'm sure they're paying Nuno a lot of money.
And they're paying Benzema a lot of money. So who's to go first.
Well, I mean, if you're getting that much money, you're sacrificing a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
Like he's not in a position to say I'm going to be like Pep or Klopp. They get the final say, or like Tuchel gets final say on transfers, right? That they work that into their contracts eventually. If you're making that much money, and he doesn't have the pull that Guardiola or Klopp have, then he's just gonna have to accept it. But he's making a lot of money, so you
can't really say much.
Yeah, if you really want, if you were really focused on that and you like wanted to implement your own system and stuff like that, you would stay in a different league and help build your resume and all of that. But you went to Saudi Arabia and you got a lot of money, and you know that they're gonna do that stuff.
Okay, but that brings me to the next thing though. I was thinking this on the way here. So you have MLS and you have Saudi Arabia, and you had the Chinese league at one point where they tried to make it like something big, try to pay a lot of players. It didn't really work out. But there's still good players there, to be honest, in the Chinese league. But you had MLS where it's looked at, or before Saudi Arabia and China came along, where you come here for a payday. Compared to now, you have Saudi Arabia where it's like the whole entire world knows it's literally a payday now. How do you compare the two leagues? Because in one league, we're looking at MLS like, maybe because we're here, but if somebody comes from England, like, oh, this is great for MLS, it's really good. And nobody really says anything from like the Europe side, or like it's not a big deal. But now players are going to China or Saudi Arabia, and it's like, oh, it's just for the money. Like it's not to be better. It's not to improve, like player wise or coaching wise. It's like it's literally just for the money. Where now we're looking at MLS like, oh, they're coming here, they want to make a change, and we're looking in a positive way. Where Saudi Arabia, we're looking at like more of a negative.
Yeah,
that's interesting to me. How it's like.
What's your take, Pedro?
It's tough. I think if I was a player, I would definitely be more interested in Saudi Arabia. Not just because of the money. Well, maybe because of the money, but also because of the fact that if you are not a so-called designated player, you still can make a very good living playing in Saudi Arabia versus MLS, right? You have guys that get drafted in MLS that are making $60,000, $70,000 a year, maybe 80. That's tough. That's tough. I think a lot of things have to change in the MLS for it not to be seen as a retirement type of league. I think if you're a young, British guy on your, early 20s and you're pretty good talent, you still will decide to play League One, League Two over trying to make the trip to MLS to play for, any team in the MLS for 90, 100,000, and then they also limit the international slots on those teams too. So it's gonna be tough. A lot of things have to change on the MLS for it to be something that young players on their prime will be wanting to join.
Yeah,
I don't even know the rules, to be honest, like of the whole
the
designated players.
Yeah.
And I don't have no idea about any of that. Like,
I'm not an expert either. I'm sure Pedro knows a little bit more, but basically, it's not like Saudi Arabia where you can just pay whoever you want, however much money you want. There's a salary cap, so there's like a certain amount of money that you can spend. Basically, they did it originally to keep it fair and to keep the playing level like even. So you don't have teams like Manchester City who can just come with some rich owners and just buy whoever they want. The problem is now you have a decision to make as the MLS. You say, do we grow the game and bring players like Messi and Busquets and Jordi Alba and start getting really sketchy with the rules?
Which they did, right? Like they cheated the whole system.
Definitely.
Or do you stay true to your principles and say like, okay, we just can't do it. We can only take Messi as our designated player or whatever. We can only pay him a certain amount. So the problem is if you're another team in the MLS who maybe doesn't have as much money or is following the rules, not only are you seeing this happen from another team, but it's the actual league and the commissioners who are like making it happen in order to make them look better. So that's where I would be upset if I was like the Colorado Rapids, right? I'd be upset, or Chicago Fire, one of those teams. I would be kind of upset. But at the same time, though, it still helps you because
that's what I was gonna say, right?
Messi coming to your stadium and playing in your stadium gets you more revenue than most of your games combined, because now you can jack up the ticket prices.
But not only that, isn't there like all the owners or MLS teams share the revenue? So isn't that?
I'm not sure about that.
That's what that's what I saw on Twitter, that all of them share the revenue of everybody makes, and they share it between the teams, and
I
it's
don't know.
equally.
I don't know about that, but it's weird because it benefits you having Messi play for Inter Miami.
Yeah.
It benefits you because you're going to make a lot more money now. But it also hurts you from the competitive side because now Inter Miami went from being the worst team in the league to the best team in the league within a matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
How much do MLS owners actually care about being good?
I think they all care a lot. I mean, I've seen some owners like the Charlotte's ownership group saying that they want to spend more money, but they just can't because of all those regulations.
yeah.
And you see also how many rich Americans are also investing in teams overseas in lower league England and Germany and all those different countries because they want to be able to compete without as many regulations and also with promotion and relegation.
Yeah.
So I guess the question becomes, would you rather them be strict with the league rules and say, like, we're not going to allow this to happen? Or would you rather just let them open it up and say, it's kind of a free-for-all, you can pay? I mean, I think you should still definitely have a CBA, like a collective bargaining agreement. I think you should have a minimum standard of what you can pay players. But I wonder if that's all that you need. If you say, okay, everybody who plays in the MLS has to make at least $80,000 a year. And then from there, you can pay players as much as you want or as little as you want.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like growing up in Europe and watching your not just Europe, anywhere around the world besides MLS. There's like a salary cap. It's just weird to me. Which, in a way, yeah, like people are upset about Man City, but you're also evolving now. Everybody in the Premier League is spending a lot of money. It's not like
And they're still subject to FFP as well. So
115 counts.
Well, yeah.
unless you're Chelsea, but
Yeah, but I mean, Manchester City are under investigation for things like that, right?
Yeah.
Chelsea, I'm sure at some point is going to be under investigation for things like that.
Spend $1
But that's the
billion
thing. But the difference between that is that that's not the Premier League that's investigating them. That's FIFA.
Yeah.
And so MLS, I don't know. Do they not fall under the same rules?
To me, it doesn't like.
There's some sketchy stuff going on.
There's definitely I think there's sketch stuff everywhere, obviously, but MLS just needs to. I don't know what designated player. I don't know what all that stuff just needs to just.
Yeah.
You think get rid of it?
Get rid of it because it was placed there to help the young guys, right? That's the whole point. Like for college guys get drafted to be able to play.
Yeah.
Is that the whole point of the designated
yeah, and
players?
for it to be an even level of competitiveness.
But they're not even getting these college. Like people are getting drafted in the top 5 and they're getting released 2 weeks later. So it's not like the draft. I think.
Well, that whole system. We can talk about that whole system, but that whole system is broken because the relationship between the MLS and the NCAA is not good.
Yeah.
So that's why. So why would you want to draft a player who's 23 years old, who has not been playing at a very good level because he's been playing for college, where you can get a kid from Europe or a kid from South America who's 18, 19 years old and is just as good as that player who's 23 years old.
Yeah. And that's what happens now, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the. So I don't know. The whole system doesn't make sense to me.
And that's the competition they're having between now the NCAA and the academies, because now people are choosing to forego their college experience so that they can just develop in the academy. Because the academies are actually quite good. Like New York Red Bulls has a good academy. I'm sure LAFC now has a good academy. Inter Miami's probably going to have a good one too now.
Dallas.
So yeah, Dallas, exactly. So in Dallas, there's some really good players in Dallas too. Like Dallas is a hotbed for good players. Like there's a lot of really good teams. So if you're a kid who's playing for LAFC's academy, why would you go to college and go and spend 4 years at a university at a school where you can as soon as you turn 18, you're starting to train with the first team, and you're going to get a contract when you're 18 or 19, and you're going to make just as much money. So why? So that's what I'm saying. So the relationship between the NCAA and the MLS is not very good, and there's too many different pathways as well to get to the MLS.
Like NFL, MLB, and all those work because United States is pretty much the main spot for those sports. When you can bring players in from overseas to play in your league for probably less money and like willing to do it 16, 17, 18,
Yeah.
and you can develop them. Why would you go for somebody that's 23?
And that's why I think a closed franchised league with no promotion and relegation is the wrong way to go about soccer in the United States, because people are only going to care so much and for so long about a club when there's no movement in between tiers, even at the lower tier level. So yeah, I mean, we could talk forever about how screwed up U.S. soccer is, but I mean, I think the best testament of that is that, the other day the U.S. national team didn't have a single MLS player in the starting line, and you're creating all these rules and all these 9 types of contracts on the MLS to try to promote the game here. And, all your best talent is leaving to overseas when they are 15, 16, 17 because your system is failing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is that ever going to change? Promotion, relegation? That's
I think a lot of people wish it would, but the people in charge are never going to want to change it.
If I paid $50 million 10 years ago or whatever it was, I don't know.
Nowadays, a franchise is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. You have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to have an MLS franchise. So think about all the people who have paid that money or close to it, and now they're saying in 2 years you could be in the 3rd division of U.S. soccer. Nobody's gonna. Why in the world would you vote for that?
Yeah, I mean that's why it's never going to change.
The other problem as well is that there's other leagues trying to adopt promotion relegation, like USL has started talking about it. But the problem with promotion relegation is that it has to be an open system for everyone, not an open system within a closed league.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense either, right? Like it makes a little bit more sense, but not. It's almost like fake promotion and relegation. Yeah. What you really want to see is a team start out in the Midwest Premier League, and then in 10 years, they're fighting for promotion to the MLS. Whereas some of these leagues, it's like you might go from USL, you might go from League 2 to League 1 to the Championship, but then that's pretty much it, and you still can't get into the MLS. So like you're only guaranteed a certain level of.
Too many leagues.
Yeah, it's just the problem is how are you going to convince these guys that paid that much money to vote for something like that?
Yeah, it will have to come from the FA itself, from U.S. Soccer Federation.
And they're getting money from them, so I don't know.
I see it very, very difficult to actually happen within our
lifetime.
Maybe not necessarily our lifetime, but not. I don't know. It's going to take a long time, and I think there's just way too many problems right now that there's easy solutions to. That's the thing. The solutions are easy. Everybody knows what the solutions are, but it's just convincing someone to do it.
And then on top of that, not only MLS owners, then you got to think MLS, USL, NISA, if you want, whatever. They all got to come together and say, okay, we're going to play under one league and figure out a fair way to put those teams in. But they don't even have to come together. It's the MLS. Well, if you ask NISA, USL, and all those leagues, say there's promotion and relegation, would you guys vote for it? Most of them would say yeah, because the amount of money that they're paying at the rest of the leagues is not significant. It's convincing the MLS owners to be able to do it. That's literally it. But if you did that, let's say the MLS owners say, okay, promotion relegation, who's USL Championship is the 2nd tier. Then what are you going to do? NISA's like, oh, we're the 3rd, or we're the 2nd.
Yeah, but it would be much easier
to convince them
to join because then at least they know that there's possibility for the clubs to move up, and that helps.
So liquid football in 5 years could be in the MLS.
I don't know about 5 years, but
only if you stay in the midfield, George.
Yeah, if you don't retire.
Yeah. I'm getting red cards left and right.
But again, those are problems. Those are problems that there's easy solutions to, but I just don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And here's the other thing as well is. One of the arguments that people are going to make is what happens if liquid football gets promoted, right? Let's say 3 leagues. How are we going to operate? Who's going to pay the money for us to be able to operate when we don't get fans, right? Like when we don't have fans that can pay for player salaries and things like that. Even if we manage to somehow move up a couple leagues, we'd be stuck.
So that's when you get Ryan Reynolds to come buy liquid football.
So I think that would cause some problems too, because what's going to happen to some teams that get promoted, but financially they're not stable enough to be able to do it. So now teams are dropping out. And now how bad does that look that a team that just got promoted or whatever is dropping out?
But don't teams, you get money, right?
Right. Where's that money coming from?
The league.
Who's funding the league?
I mean, how does it work in the championship?
So once you have promotion and relegation, I will hope that you also have things like those fees and percentages.
Yeah, like TV rights and things like that.
Yeah, and also when you transfer a player that was developed on your youth system or whatnot, you will get a huge fee that most teams in the US don't get because of some weird MLS and discovery rights and all that crap.
I think one of the problems, though, the big problems is that where the money is coming from in the end is the individual person, right? Yeah. Like me paying for tickets, me buying jerseys. If everyone in the United States was into the sport as much as they are into football or baseball, then there's a lot more money that can be given to the federations, or the federations can have, and then that can be given to teams when they get promoted. Like, obviously the championship game, they make so many millions of dollars when they get promoted.
Like you make the most money out of that game than any other game.
But you are guaranteed in a country like England, you are guaranteed that if your team is in the Premier League, your stadium is sold out. Yeah. Here, I don't think you can guarantee that, because even if you get to those levels, how many people are we really going to sell out every single stadium? And it's not just those levels, right? There's 5 or 6 levels below that. How are they going to raise any money when there's not that many people who are interested in the sport as there are other sports?
I think it's a cycle, though. Once there is promotion relegation, games mean more to fans and to players. So that's one. Then you will have clubs that move up and down, and that creates more. The area that you live in, that club is gonna go up or down, and that attracts fans too as well. Yeah. When things start going well for a club, that's when it's easier to obtain more fans. And when I don't know, like if you look at DCFC, they get huge crowds for every game. But what if there was a game in which they could get promoted to the MLS one day? Yeah. How many tickets more than a regular USL Championship game will they sell?
Of course. And you're right. That's obviously an important point, because when your team is fighting for relegation or fighting to stay in the league or fighting for promotion, the games mean a lot more. So people are much more willing than if it's just a regular league game. Like if it's the last league game of the season and it doesn't matter whether you lose or you win, obviously not as many people are going to go as if it's the last league game of the season, but you could be promoted if you win this game. So obviously, there's a bigger investment. I just think in general, as a country, there's not enough support from the general public, because if you compare us to all of these European countries, almost every single one of these European countries, I mean, you can think of any, but how many of them is soccer, football, their second sport versus their first? Almost all of them, it's their top sport. Whereas we're probably fourth or fifth at least in the order here in the United States.
Well, even if you look at MLS attendance, like I don't know what team, I think it was the Revolution, New England Revolution, who had like 3,000 people at one game. And it was like
Chicago Fire as well.
That's 3,000 people for an MLS game. That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
like
I agree. I do agree. Like probably a lot of that is because of the way the system is set up.
Yeah.
However, I think there needs to be a little bit more interest. Messi coming over, as much as you could talk about whether the rules are good or not, Messi coming over helps improve the game because a lot more people are watching.
Yeah. So more people money also will attract interest from fans, right? And I think the money is there. There are a lot of rich people in the United States that are investing on clubs overseas because games matter more, because there is promotion relegation, and because it's seen as an investment. If I invest 20 million in this tier 5 club and I can bring it up to tier 1, I'm going to make a lot of money.
Right.
So I think if we could see higher talent and higher level of play, coming from money from investors, I think that will also attract a lot of fans to the stands. And also, I mean, like you said, ultimately, the budget of a league or a club is very dependent on the amount of fans following it. But I think it could grow, at least better than it's growing right now.
But as much as like Messi coming in is selling tickets, there's also like a huge negative impact on people that can't afford. Now tickets are like $1,000.
Yeah.
So like, how like that's in the United States. I think in England there's like, you can't do that. Like you can buy your ticket and you can resell it like under the table or whatever. But in the United States we have
people who will buy the tickets just for the purpose of resell.
Yeah. So like right now tickets for LAFC match at the top was like 1,200. there's no way. I mean,
Crazy.
I'm not.
There's
going
no way
to
the
that.
average consumer is going to want to
Like
pay.
I'm not going to that game, even though Messi might be my favorite player, right? Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was Firmino.
no, I'm saying if Bobby Firmino came,
Mitrovic.
Mitrovic, $10.
All right, so to close the episode, let's close the episode with liquid football. Pedro was the assistant coach, helped out with the goalkeepers, but also, as you know, Pedro and Georgie, liquid football, everybody wears a bunch of hats. Everybody has to do all sorts of stuff. Pedro, just talk us through, I guess, your experience with liquid football this summer.
Well, I joined early in the preseason. It had been a while since I last coached, so I was kind of nervous about it. But it was great. I was very surprised with the level of play, not only from our team but other teams in the league. I was also surprised by some clubs that seem to run very professionally, like Livonia City FC or the Michigan Jaguars pro team. It was fun. Honestly, it was one of the highlights of my year for sure. Getting to meet, people like Jimmy, Sonny, and Karar and Karim was also very, very fun. There's a lot of camaraderie that gets built when you are operating in a lower league club, and yeah, it was really, really fun.
What was what would you say was the highlight of the season? What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was probably when we traveled to Indiana to play for Wayne FC. That was a very fun trip, and to also be invited by the Marcus Beasley himself. That was really, really cool.
What would you say was the worst part or the hardest part about it?
The hardest part was not having pockets in the coach's shirts. That was definitely.
Honestly, I listen. I thought about that, and I told Georgie, and we had a sample, but I don't think it had pockets in it. It was just a woven sample.
Oh yeah, it might have been. I don't even remember. We had so many samples. I can't even tell you.
Listen,
you probably still have all those samples here.
Yeah, I probably do somewhere. I have them in my those shorts. I keep them with all my
You
other
better
shorts.
keep all that for like history.
Yeah,
too.
but listen,
Remember
in
that.
comparison, here's the thing. In comparison to some teams that are wearing off-brand stuff, obviously we're counting out Adidas teams, Nike teams, Puma, like any of those teams, they can get whatever they want because those manufacturers make it. But I've seen some teams with some manufacturers that I've never heard of before, and they had some sketchy, like kit
Gear.
and apparel. Yeah, like really funny fitting stuff where like the sleeves was like hanging down or like it was like really short or whatever. I think we did a really good job. I do think that is on the priority list for next season is getting regular shorts, like woven shorts with pockets for like staff and just game day or even just travel for the players as well.
What do you guys need pockets for on the sideline? What do you put in there?
Sonny needs it to have a pen.
Yeah,
Oh,
Sonny.
for a pen?
Yeah, every single game he always was looking for a pen because he never brought a pen.
What do you need a pen for? To
the
write down
sub
for
cards.
subs?
Sub cards.
for the
and-
sub
That
cards
makes
and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
referee stuff.
But I don't know if he thought it was my responsibility to bring him the damn pen, but every single game he would get upset at me because I didn't have a pen when he was the one that needed
That's
the pen.
funny.
But we will get some shorts with pockets because I think that's important. I think for me, the liquid football is a project that takes a lot of work, obviously, but it's kind of fun. It's really, really fun actually to see how the process works when you step into the business side of things and like you're the one that's actually making the decisions between what are the things that we're buying and what are the things that we probably shouldn't spend money on. There were some things that I probably I wouldn't say I regret, but there were some things that we probably could have spent money on something else. But
The concession stand.
the concession stand was one of them. Honestly, the concession stand lives here. I went and I spent $90 on concessions, and it was the game that rained, and one person bought a water bottle. I think it was. That was it. And then now
Now you get snacks.
that was your fault, by the way. That was Georgie's fault because I told him we didn't need concessions, and he kept saying, "Oh, well, why don't we just buy concessions and have somebody sell them?"
Well, instead of having somebody there to work from them, it was just a good option. But to be fair, as soon as we got them, we had 2 or 3 home games where it was just
Rained out.
rained out.
Brutal.
So that didn't help anything at all. Not even like merch sales or anything. That was terrible.
The stream was hard. The stream was difficult. The first stream was great. I wouldn't say great. I think the first stream was very good. It was good quality for the first stream. And then we had problems where the facility did not have Wi-Fi anymore. Or sorry, the Ethernet cable from the facility was not working, so we couldn't stream. I think it was the last 4 home games that we couldn't stream at all. So that became a problem.
Yeah, shout out to Connor for putting up with all of that. I know he struggled.
Yeah, he did.
That did not seem like fun.
We'll get Connor on the podcast at some point. He can talk us through the woes of the stream.
Of what happened.
Yeah. The good thing about this league is that we do have a general meeting, which I'm sure Pedro's very excited to go to this. What are some of the points that you're going to, for some of the people maybe that are listening that are owners of MWPL teams or people that we know, Pedro, what are some of the things you're going to bring up?
Well, probably the most important one is to make sure that we are keeping those standards that we're setting at the beginning of the league in terms of facilities, locker rooms, water for the away team, etc. And I think we could do a better job also as a league, reporting results and keeping that fairly accurate and fairly on time. Some of that gets delayed a little bit, and I'm sure I can find some ways to help them out with that too, and implement some tech in there as well.
Yeah. Pedro wants to get on the board. Trust me. If you really want to get on the board, all you got to do is raise your hand. Nobody else will. So
I'm always about improving things.
So you can definitely get on there.
Well, now we have it in official video here that Pedro is going to be on the board at some point. So we'll make sure to nominate him when it comes to the general meeting.
Georgie, I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
You have that unique perspective from being co-owner of Liquid and also player and captain. What about the soccer specific stuff? How did you find the league? Were you surprised by the level? Did you enjoy it? Were you a little bit feeling behind the talent level? Tell us.
Honestly, I think I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, playing, I never really, for a long time, I haven't played, for fun, right? At this, besides DCFC for so many years. So I didn't really know what to expect. And you can definitely tell the level's a lot higher compared to some of the other leagues that, were an option. And I think in the end of the day, we made the right choice in going to MWPO. And it was more professionally ran overall as a league. But on the field, it's just crazy because there's so many players that want to play. And those players are picking the MWPL to come and join to be their level of, potentially getting a professional contract. It's not, we're just going to show up and we're going to play for fun and that's it. All right, there's a goal, whether it's some of the college players to stay in shape, but you see a lot of those college players like Michigan State, U of M players, they're playing in this league. So that just tells you the level, because obviously those universities are really good and D1 and at, top of the game. So to have those players coming in and to have younger players coming in as we had from tryouts to push themselves and to improve every single time, you can just tell that just by being on the field, it was always going to be a challenge. And I think it showed. I don't think there were many games where there were blowouts or anything of the sort. It was fairly close, which is what you want to see in a league. And, I thought, personally that the league soccer-wise, level-wise on the field, it was really good. Obviously, there's always going to be those problems in the summer teams where some of your players won't show up or they have, different things going on, whether it's vacation or stuff like that, which is completely normal for any team. But overall, as a league, I think is the right move for anybody, obviously, trying to get into the league. I would go MWPL. And, we faced some tough challenges, man, throughout the year. It wasn't easy. So it was always good to, push yourself and to see if, we can go the one step further next year to win the league. But there's just too many good players for every single team, and I think that's the good thing, that any team you played, it could be a close game, whether you're in first place or in last place, the game will be close. So
yeah, and the cool thing about it was that it was a mix of different ages, so it wasn't there's some other leagues where it's just some older players who are just looking to continue playing at a pretty good level, or there's some leagues where it's a lot of young guys who are looking to are on their way up to try and play pro. I think this one was pretty cool because there was a lot of young guys who are looking to either go to college, because some of them were not even college age. Some of them were high schoolers. But then there's also some veterans in there who have already played at a higher level who, again, still want to continue playing at a higher level. So when you mix that together, I think it creates not just a good level of the game, but it also creates interesting styles of play as well, because you have to mix those different experiences together. So that was our team. Our team had a few guys who were, I think probably if you think about our starting lineup, with you, with Ryan, with Alaji. I can't think of if there anybody else that was older.
Cyrus, maybe?
Cyrus. So you had 4 guys who were in their 30s.
Yeah.
And then you also had a lot of guys who were like Wasim, and those guys were like young, like early 20s, 20, 21, 20. So it was a pretty good mix that we had, for sure.
And then some like Jonah who was like
And then Jonah,
under 20.
yeah, who was,
I don't know.
I think he was 19 or
18,
20.
19, yeah.
But we had, throughout the summer, I think we had a few 17-year-olds play for us.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool, because I think the minimum age is 16. I don't think we had a 16-year-old this year.
No.
But I think we had a couple guys who were 17.
Angel, yeah.
Angel.
Yeah. I mean,
Abdul.
and speaking about different levels, you have players like Benny and Bosch who are like trying to take the next step and, already playing at a high level and willing to come to play, for us. And you can see obviously their quality. Then you see players like Cyrus, who's arguably the best player in Michigan, and has been for a long time. So, and then you have, like you said, players that are trying to take the next step, whether it's to play college or just to improve their game. So it was a good mix for our team, especially to be able to provide an experience like that for some of those guys to see in person, to be able to play. I mean, not to make Cyrus Messi, but like in a way, you're bringing in somebody like Messi to Inter Miami, bringing
Right.
Cyrus to like liquid football. Somebody
Well, it
that
changes the game. It changes the.
Some-
We went from struggling the first 3 games to after that
undefeated for
yeah,
9 or whatever.
not
games.
losing in 9 games, because we brought in players with that type of level
Experience, yeah.
and experience.
And if I'm 16, 17, 18 and I'm trying to improve, I'm looking at those guys like I can see why, they are where they are, who they were, they've played, where they've played. And that's like motivation for those guys to be like, I want to take this next step. I want to play college. I want to try out here. I want to go here. So, and it's like, these guys are good guys. It's not like you're going to have, guys with terrible attitude that are going to come in like, oh, I'm the best player in the world. And like, I'm not going to pass to anyone and all that. Like, I think the team overall became a team towards the end, and we showed it. So I think it was a really good mix of experience, older guys, younger guys, and people that really want to push themselves.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to do a full episode just on liquid football, to talk about everything, different points in the season, questions, things that surprised us in terms of starting the club. And also the finances is an important one, because obviously if we can tell people exactly what we spent money on, how much we spent and everything, it helps them if they want to build their own club.
Don't do it, people.
It's tough, man. It is because at first you're motivated, and when you're motivated, you're willing to do whatever, right? Yeah. So like you're super excited about starting a new project, and so this is what happens with a lot of teams, is that they have investors, and investors are excited because they want to try something new. So I'm going to invest in a club, right? And so they put money in, but you have to realize that the mindset, especially in this sport and in this country, you're not going to see that money back for quite some time. So if you're okay with waiting it out, if ever, exactly. So if you're okay with like waiting it out a little bit, I think at some point you're going to realize that it's worth it. But I think a lot of the people who do it who are expecting a return on their investment financially, especially right away, those are the ones where you see the clubs that are super excited. They want to build stadiums and all of that. And then next thing you know, construction has not started.
The investment's not there anymore. We can't pay the players.
You can't pay the players, yeah. So we're at a stage where I think the first year was very successful. We did not go into the negatives to a point where I was like, this is going to be a problem. I think it's something that we knew that we could sustain for a couple years, and then try and build a base so that in the future, instead of us having to invest our money, it's more so just kind of recycling the money that we made from the season back into it. And even if we're not making any money, as long as we're kind of covering our costs, then I think we're okay.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely helps to have support from a lot of people, right? Like, one, we have like volunteers, obviously, like Pedro came on, and like so many people that helped throughout the season, whereas just coming to games, and like Brittany, like helping out at the, like where concessions or like merch sales or whatever people are entering. Like there were just so many pieces to it to where 2, 3, 4, 5 people can't do it alone. Like you need a good team
support system.
You definitely need the support system, and it also helps that people wanted to come out and watch games. I mean, the first game of the season, we had a decent turnout.
Yeah.
We had people buy merch, and I mean, you don't realize it, but that goes a long way, especially when you get, like we said, 2 games where it's raining and nobody shows up. You can definitely tell when it didn't rain to where it rained. So, like, all those small things make a huge difference. And if you're willing to get 30, 40, 50 people to a game, and you're willing to be, supported by people that you know, friends, family, or whatever community, first-time comers. I think Brittany said there was a guy that came to one game, and he says that he travels. Yeah. I don't know if it's around Michigan or around the United States.
Travels around the country, just going to like lower league games and buying merch, and
that's amazing.
Exploring
that's amazing.
Teams. Yeah,
not like that.
So he bought merch and stuff.
We need to find this guy. We need to get him.
I don't know where he came from or what, but it seemed like he seemed like he was just some guy who was like retired and was just kind of just enjoys watching lower league soccer.
I think that's gonna be Sonny in 40 years.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can
absolutely.
But yeah, like I said, you need that. You need that support system. If you're not somebody that has like millions and you're willing to just like spend the money and not really care, and nobody shows up to the games, you don't do the things right, and you just care about the players and let them play. There's a difference, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to try and build something that's going to sustain itself, and you don't have huge investors that are like part of it, then you need to do the things right and build it little by little by little, and then in the end, you're going to have a really cool project that could potentially get that money back or even make profit from it. But you can't skip steps. Like there's just so much that goes behind it.
What is your expectations for liquid football next season, Pedro?
To be evaporated.
Well, I will say I want to have as much fun as I did this year. I would like to keep adding a couple more pieces to that support system to make it even a nicer experience for players and coaches and fans. As far as soccer goes, we finished second this year. It will be even better if we push for that first spot. It will be tough. There's a lot of competition, but you never know. I'm just really excited to get it started again. I know that we just finished, but yeah, I'm looking forward to tryouts and all that stuff come spring.
Yeah. Preseason next week, guys.
Yeah, listen, Pedro doesn't know how to take breaks. That is one thing I've learned about him. As soon as the season was over, I was like, all right, everyone just take a break, couple months off. We don't have to worry about this. And you don't have to worry about like what's going on next season or posting on social media. Everyone just takes a break. Within like a day or two, Pedro was already asking me what we were gonna do, when we were gonna have our next meeting and things like that.
He just asked me, did you guys sign the jerseys?
Yeah.
He's the one. I mean, that's
we're very close, Pedro. Yeah. We're very close to starting the jerseys.
I gotta keep you in check.
I like that. I like that.
We'll be all right, but I think that's a good ending point for today's podcast. Is again bringing on Pedro, who will hopefully, if he doesn't quit on us, he'll hopefully be here in the next few episodes as well. And then we'll bring some of the other guys. So maybe some of the other liquid football guys like Connor and Jimmy and Sonny, and we'll get some guests in. I think that would be the cool thing for the podcast as well, is to bring some guests in and have them talk about whatever, if they own a club or if they have a favorite team in the Premier League, and just kind of get their perspective on things. I need people to back me up when I'm talking about Mitrovic versus Nuñez.
Listen, I'm just going to say, if we bring Sonny on here, he's going to talk about Serie A. And I don't watch the Serie A at all.
But we'll just let Sonny talk.
Nobody does.
I think Sonny might be the only one.
That's messed up.
But all right, well, I think that's it for this one. Pedro, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, just happy to be here.
Fantastic. Georgie?
No, I mean, Bobby Firmino is the best in the world. That's about it.
We're going to have to end it there then. All right. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
Messi